All right, Mr. Coffin,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Brien,
Yes.
Chief is out. Dr. Sampson, yes. All right, before we get started, anything else that you have there, Mr. Ballard, and from the Lorain board?
No, I think I'll need a motion from my board to make a change to our agenda so we can go right into the presentations.
So moved.
Support.
Second,
Roll call.
Mr. Sturgill,
Yes.
Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Ballard,
Yes.
Ms. Nazario,
Yes.
and Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Sampson is in your hands, sir.
All right, thank you, sir. Before we get started, Dr. Graham, are there any updates that you would like to share that's prudent for this moment before we move on?
Yes, sir, I would. I'd like for us to have an update on our strategic plan, and I will defer to Michael and Ross to lead us in that.
Michael, you want to start? You want me to start?
Well, I'll just start with some opening words, and then I'll turn it over to you for the technical aspects of showing some artifacts from where we are relative to the DLT. I don't know, is it just me or is there another
There's an echo, yeah.
So we can mute.
They're not speaking. If you could please mute.
Yep. Okay. Went away. So we've been hard at work on the selection process for our district leadership team, knowing, as Ross will show later, at the foundation, and we've shown before of our plan, is the selection of this leadership team. And we've had, I think approximately it was 50 applicants from various stakeholder groups within our organization apply. And we've been making a conscious effort, and we are making a conscious effort to remove the bias from the selection process. So we've been engaged in screening those applicants. We will finish that screening this week, and we'll move into a face-to-face interview process moving forward to then get our numbers down to that 20 to 25 that we were looking for. And it's pretty exciting. It's exciting to see the process moving forward, but it's also more so exciting to know that we'll have a foundational work group that will engage other members of our organization. So if you're not a part of the district leadership team, the mantra has been, there's still a place for you to put your fingerprints on the plan. But we wanted to make sure that we had as many voices from representation that doesn't normally have that type of voice in this type of capacity at the table. So we've engaged, we've gotten those applicants. We began that screening process last week. It's falling over a little bit into this week, and we'll be setting up interviews. So at this point, Ross, you want to show a couple of that artifacts? Because, one of my mentors told me evidence makes it evident. So we'll show a little bit of that evidence of that work being done right now.
Yeah. So we'll just go right to here. So again, just how we're monitoring the total implementation of our plan. And so Healthy Culture 3 is where we've spent a lot of time developing that, our selection processes as a whole. And so this action step is complete with the development of those action items. So we'll just go here first. So this is our selection tool that we're using for all of our teams, and now contextualized specifically for our district leadership team selection process. So we've got the purpose of our district leadership team stated up here. For all of our team selection that we do for our district leadership team, when we form an equity team, curricular team, MTSS teams, we're looking for this information here about school, where the applicants work, gender, years of service, their role in the district, and race. So those are the main areas that we're looking to make sure that we are intentionally diverse, and making sure that we are, while we can't mathematically mirror our demographic, move closer towards mirroring our demographic. So underneath that, where we decided that expertise, credibility, and collaboration were the main skill sets that we're going to be looking for our applicants. I'll just show you the screening questions that we've got right now. And our process for doing that. So each, as Michael said, we're trying to be as bias-free as we can. So each applicant was assigned a number, and all other identifying information was removed. And we've asked them intentionally in the prompts not to include colleagues. So again, we can do our best to minimize bias. So each candidate's assigned a number, and then we have scoring teams that are in groups of 3, and that scoring team is responsible for a certain of applicants. They score. Right now, we're finishing up scoring all the first prompts, and then we'll score all the second prompts. Each individual score reads through the candidate's response to the questions, and then they have the following look-fors to go through and use to score. So definition of equity, challenges, how they address those challenges, and then any personal experiences that they can relate to the prompt. They make their initial score. Then once all 3 team members are ready, then they deliberate that score, go through the evidence that they saw in the writing, and then you'll see a final prompt 1 score, final prompt score 2. So if after deliberating, and my scoring members make some points maybe that I missed, I have the option to adjust my score based on the evidence that my teammates presented. And then we take the total scores, and that's the total score for that person for that prompt. So as Michael said, we'll finish that up on Wednesday this week. Then next week, middle of the week, are the in-person selection parts of our selection process, rather, and we're expecting to be inviting our district leadership team members by the end of next week. So it should be really, really excited. We've got great people in this district that we're very excited about the response we've read so far from the applicants. We won't know, and this is very intentional, we will not know who has applied to be a member of the district leadership team until we've scored all of the prompts, and then we add in identifying information after that. So we are doing our very best to minimize bias here and score based on what our folks are communicating through the prompts. So that's that update. A couple more updates. We are also working on our orientation process then for our new district leadership team members. And Michael, you want to talk through this a little bit as you're part of this implementation team?
Yeah, I'll be brief with my sentiments here, but there is a work group that had some cognitive dissonance over the last week or so regarding how we wanted to orient this new leadership team. There's a lot of information that we want to share relative to our implementation drivers, the plan itself, getting into that work, the one needs assessment. But at the same time, we are bringing together a group that may not have worked together in any capacity before. So how do we meet those needs and still, excite people about coming? One of our members said, well, we want them to come back. So don't hit them in the mouth with so much, raw information, but make it welcoming. So we have partnered, and we got a couple things. We're talking about, partnering with our Lighthouse Grill potentially to do part of the orientation there. We had this great conversation with the Lorain Historical Society, and one of our pieces there, a part of our plan, is to really talk about the history of Lorain. And that is the area, I think, and we have a meeting tomorrow to solidify this, is where we're going to start with this district leadership team group to really talk about our story, our journey, and that's something that we all should be able to galvanize from. And then we'll get into some of that work further. But when you look into our strategic plan, that is a part of our plan. So we are getting to work, and we're partnering with a great agency in our community to do this work that serves our students and our schools already. So that's where we are. And as you can see there are many action steps that are being developed around just the different functionalities of the team, starting with the OIP, moving into our plan, and then getting those work groups going. But we want to be real intentional on that orientation, getting it right from that very first meeting.
And then the other update that we want to share here as well that we're working on also falls in the improvement process, and that's starting our one needs assessment. And so we I think you'd see that. So we've formed our team to work on this. This is going to be a representative team. The deadline for it is April 30th. And we were hoping to have our district leadership team do that work. And we just simply aren't going to have our district leadership team selected by then. So we've got a good representative team from central office principals, teacher leaders, and we've done our orientation. We've got our organizational structure developed. We've got our work groups, and our work groups are working on that and should have that done and complete this week. And then our buildings, we'll be doing that with the building leadership teams in the month of May. And so we'll work on orientation for principals starting next week, and then their teams should be ready to go the following week after that to start work on the one needs assessment. And that will be really important to really inform the tasks that we have here as we get into our plan for the implementation teams, so that we're not stopping at the action step, but going through the specific tasks that we need to have in place for that action step to be implemented successfully for us to meet our success criteria. So that's the other update that I think is pretty important to know. And then just as a reminder, if you go from our website, you can access our strategic plan right from the main page. And then, again, at any point, you can see every part of our plan. The action step tree is where we're working off of right now for our spring and summer action steps. And again, I think Dr. Graham set this up initially, and just to reiterate, we spent a lot of time initially forming the process to form our teams. And then once we have our district leadership team in place, we'll get to work. The TL4 stands for teaching and learning. And again, these are interactive live links. So if you click on that, you'll see that one of the first things our district leadership team is going to need to do, and this will carry forward for a while, is really understand what we have, format and components of our curriculum assessments, instructional pedagogy. So we just understand ourselves first and foremost, right away. Healthy Culture 1 here addresses a sustainable plan to recruit and retain staff with diverse ethnic and racial backgrounds, the extremely important one for us to get started on. Healthy Culture 5, we started work on this just a little bit kind of with our principals just a couple hours ago, but getting into the norms of collaboration. Tighten Improvement Process 4, Michael just talked through, it's the orientation process. The one needs assessment and work groups all center here. Healthy Culture 18 is developing expectations and a protocol for clear and consistent two-way communication. So we're going to be really intentional. One of the first things we want to make sure our leadership team is mindful of is how we communicate. And again, knowing that communication is a two-way exchange, not just a one-way exchange. So that'll be coming up here real soon for our leadership team. And then under equity, one of the first things that we need to do is make sure we understand how all programs can perpetuate inequities. So we're just really mindful of our actions, and some actions have intended and unintended consequences, and we need to be mindful of those. So that's where we're going here. And again, very soon we'll get our leadership team. We're pretty confident we should have that really excellent team in place by the end of next week, and then we'll be off and running with the orientation and these action steps after that. So I'll pause there. That's what we got, I think, for update here. Michael, anything else you wanted to add, or Jeff, others, before we transition out of this item?
Sir.
Any questions from our board or commission?
So question, I saw when we were kind of flipping through the slides there that there's a free prom for the seniors this year. And I know it's a little bit off topic, but that's kind of a neat thing. And I wondered if maybe there's some commentary you'd like to give about that.
Sure. Actually, in meeting with the Board of Education, we discussed the appropriateness. Obviously, we've been given COVID funds, COVID relief funds, and we thought this was an appropriate use. There's a social emotional aspect. There's getting ourselves getting back into society in a nice, safe way. And because the information for prom is coming out so late, we were concerned that our students would not have enough time to react. Prom tickets are $53 each, and we just received information on what the rules were for prom in the past few days. So we didn't think that was fair to pass on to our children. And we thought this was, again, if you look at all the reasons for the COVID relief funds, this checks many, many boxes. And I also want to thank the shipyard because as we went free, we expect more students to show up, and they gave us a bunch of space additionally for free.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the commission or the board on our strategic planning update, or any other slides that flip through? Okay, I guess I'd like to introduce Retha to kind of bring in our middle school teams. And what they're going to highlight is not only share our highlights and our strengths that are happening in our middle schools as they relate to healthy culture, equity, teaching and learning, and student supports, but also the areas where we struggle. But I think most importantly, I think the point of emphasis to walk away with today is, what are we doing about that? What are we doing to take our weaknesses, for lack of a better term, and make them our strengths? And I think we're going to meet, not necessarily exactly as the agenda flows. We're going to do it by school, but each school will cover all 4 categories. So Retha, if you could take over, introduce your folks, please, our folks.
Thank you, Dr. Graham. First, thank you, Board of Education and ADC for having us tonight to present what we're doing in middle school. I have to say, it's been a wonderful pleasure working with these leaders. They are taking lemons and making lemonade for sure. So they're really going to talk about some of the things that have been going well for us. We stepped into this with a growth mindset from the beginning. We knew it was going to be a tough year, but we knew we were definitely going to have some pluses, some wins. But then there have been some challenges. And like I said, we're just really trying to move forward and do what's best for kids. And the leaders have done a great job in kind of getting that information out on in a presentation to you. So they are going to, General Johnny is going to go first, and then Southview, and then Longfellow. And we will, if you want the PowerPoints at the end, or the slide deck at the end, we'll definitely be glad to give that to you, because there's a lot of information. They wanted to share everything. So, but we are going to definitely hit on those specific questions on healthy culture and equity and teaching and learning, and student supports, as well as transitions into high school. So do we have, Nicole needs to share her screen first. Do we have the capacity to do that?
Yeah, you should be able to screen share.
All right.
Great. I will take that on. Hold on one second. Let me just make sure we're ready.
Nicole, Reggie, and Mary. That's who's going to present. They're
Thank you.
and they are a great team, by the way.
Thank you. And I'm so glad we all know the power of pause because, again, I was ready, but you know how that goes. I'm going to share my screen with you. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Nicole Barfield Davis is what the paperwork say, but I go by Nicole Davis. I am currently serving in my 21st year here in Lorain City Schools. I started out as a school psychologist and have moved through the ranks, and I'm very familiar with the culture and the folks here in Lorain and absolutely love it. I'm very pleased to announce my leadership team for this year, Miss Mary Adamo, who's been in our district for a few years now, but has a wealth of knowledge from Cleveland, and also Mr. Shaw, who's new to us this year and brings to us a wealth of knowledge from that place that we don't like up there in Michigan, and also Cleveland and East Cleveland. So I want to say thank you to my team first, and thank you to the board and the ADC for allowing me to gather such a great team. At General Johnny Wilson, we've been faced with several different things, starting first with the pandemic. Our service here did not start at the beginning of the year. Our service started last year when we realized that our 8th grade students moving on to high school would be missing out on one of the most important ceremonies in their school journey, which is the bridging ceremony from General Johnny Wilson. So at that time, we thought it was paramount that we recognize those students and let them know how much we care about them, even though we don't know them, because in Lorain City Schools, we're a whole family with just sub-families in between. So we started out by, as a team, deciding to purchase yard signs for all of our graduating promoted 8th grade students who were going to the high school, with the intent that that would be some sort of bridge and connection for them. Today, we're going to talk about different components of our We Believe plan. We're going to start with Mr. Shaw, and he's going to talk to you about our healthy culture. We have some great videos that we'll share if we have time, but we'll start with Mr. Shaw, who I'm very, very blessed to have, and I hope he talks to you all about our GJW Gents.
Hello, everyone. My name is Reginald Shaw. It is a privilege and an honor to serve here at General Johnny Wilson as assistant principal. As Nicole said, I am a Cleveland transplant / Lorain transplant by way of that place up north, but don't hold it against me. Charge it to my head, not my heart. But we're gonna talk a little bit today about wellness, and we got to think about wellness in the time of COVID. Wellness in the time of COVID is really a serious thing. People are going through a lot. And I'll tell you, one of the things that we have to do is we have to de-stress. And here at General Johnny Wilson, we found a way to de-stress. And we actually partnered with one of our elementary schools to de-stress. And part of that de-stressing process was walking for wellness. And during this 4-week time period, we had a goal of actually putting in 10,000 steps daily. So this was something that, we want to not only be fit mentally, but we want to be fit physically as well, and just our overall wellness and our health, because if we are the ones who are leading our children, we have to show some form of wellness and be sharp at the things that we do. So our teams clashed, and we challenged each other. And here at General Johnny Wilson, we were walking early in the morning, and we also used our lunch periods to walk. The gym would be just filled with staff members, as well as the hallways. We would be just pushing each other. And of course, me, I'm a former athlete, so I was pushing everyone. Yeah, I know you're wondering, but did you win, Mr. Shaw? Well, unfortunately, I didn't. But I tell you, I won a lot of good friends, collaboration with other staff members, and just building connections, and not only with our staff, but building also with Larkmore staff. So it was definitely a great thing for all of us to just come together and to make some things happen. So that's what we did in terms of our wellness. If we move forward, we look at our PBIS. This is for our scholars, this is for our students. And this is pretty much to help them and to help us in terms of putting things together and for improvement for them on a building wide, for their safety and things of that nature. And we promoted a lot of different things. We did a lot of different activities throughout the year. But one of our great things that we stamped was our PBIS store. Our scholars, through their positive behavior in the classrooms, they were granted points through Dojo, which transferred into dollars, quote unquote, for General Johnny Wilson. And those dollars were utilized in our store that our students could use to make purchases of different gift items for themselves or for others. And this was really, really a great thing because it promoted just, helping our students to push, helping our students to thrive, and helping them to just make all the effort and do positive things. And it was just such a great thing for us this year. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about my GJW Gents. It's a group of young men that I pulled together, and they're at all different grade levels. And these young men, we're learning about being a productive citizen. We're learning about manhood. We're learning about time management. We're learning about money. We're learning about politics. We're learning about just how to be a better citizen. One of the activities that we did do was we actually, they learned how to tie a tie. So we got donations from some great people in our district who donated ties. And I don't want to say all the names because if I miss one, I don't want to be in trouble. But anyway, our young men, they learned how to tie ties, and they were really pleased, and they were able to keep these ties. As well as we have other events that are coming up. We're going to do a canned food drive, as well as we're looking at, before the year is over, to do Laps for Leadership. So if you're on this link, we probably will be soliciting funds from you at some point after we do our paperwork, make sure that we have things in order. And those funds will be utilized for the young men to get shirts and things of that nature. So we've had a very productive year. And at this time, I'm going to yield the floor to my colleague, Mary Adamo.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Mary Adamo, and I am also serving as the Assistant Principal at General Johnny Wilson. It is my second stint at General Johnny Wilson. I was here 2 years ago. I spent the last 2 years at Lark Warren, so I am back at General Johnny Wilson. I spent the first 20 years of my career in the Cleveland public schools, so as both a middle school math teacher and as an administrator. And so what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is the equity portion. And we all know, we've seen the picture of the students looking over the baseball field. So we all know that sometimes equity does not necessarily mean equality. And so this year, what we wanted to do was we wanted to provide various access opportunities for the students to engage in the virtual learning environment. This virtual learning environment was new to everybody because of the coronavirus pandemic. Some students thrived in it, others struggled. And, as staff members, it took some getting used to, even for staff members. A couple of the things that I want to highlight, one of them that I want to highlight is the iReady. And Mrs. Davis will talk a little bit more about iReady, but I wanted to talk about the MyPath, which is the individualized learning part of iReady. And what we really tried to do this year is try to individualize instruction for students. And the MyPath is a good way to do that because it caters to the student's academic level. So the student would take the diagnostic test, it puts them at a certain level, and then the activities that the students would do every day or every week is at the level that the student was tested on. And then as the student masters that concept, they're able to move on. So it's different for every student. Students start off differently, and they're able to go at their own pace. Each student's performance then drives the teacher's lessons. So the teachers use the data with the students, and that informs their lessons as well. So they know where the students' weaknesses are. They know where their strengths are. They're able to tier their lessons a little bit better. They're able to decide which students should be in different groups for intervention time as well. Some things that the teachers do with the students is they use their asynchronous time, which is on Wednesdays and in the afternoon. They use their asynchronous time with the students to, as small groups, students that need individualized help. That's also the time for our special education teachers to work on the educational goals with the students as well. And then I also want to highlight the bilingual supports that we have for the students. We have bilingual supports at each grade level. Our teachers have assignments that are written and explained in both English and Spanish for the students. We do have a very large population of Spanish-speaking students at General Johnny Wilson. All communication to the families is done in both English and Spanish as well. In order to increase Spanish proficiency in our schools, we hired a Spanish teacher this year. So we are offering Spanish classes, and the Spanish teacher is also offering Spanish classes to the teachers as well. It's remedial Spanish. Some of us, are at different levels with that as well. So it makes it easier for us to be able to communicate with our students. And we also incorporate the Hispanic culture into the lessons. We've highlighted the contributions of Latinos in Lorain and across the United States. And there are some challenges that we did face. Bilingual supports, we have a large number of families who speak Spanish at GJW. We do have limited classroom supports, but what we did do is we did hire several Spanish-speaking staff members this year to help communicate with the families. One of the staff members is one of our secretaries, and she's able to communicate with families that come in and don't necessarily speak the language. Our teachers held workshops with the parents where they actually met with the parents and the students to help with the technology as well. Some of the parents didn't understand the technology or weren't that familiar with it. So we had teachers that sat down with them, explained to them the technology, showed them how to log in, showed them different ways that they could help their students. And we had teachers that went to the different students' houses to help them set up their internets, to help them work with the Wi-Fi as well. And so attendance has been an issue consistently, especially in the virtual world. We have incentives. We have the PBIS store. We also have virtual dance parties for the students. We've had movie nights with the students as well as an incentive for them to increase their attendance. And we've also had opportunities for the parents. We have a parent night every month on Zoom. We do have time for the parents where they can ask questions. We let them know what's going on. We've had parent nights at the building and virtually as well for all of our parents, so that we want to keep them informed of everything that's going on at GJW. At this point, I will defer back to our principal, Mrs. Davis.
So I'm going to stop the screen share just for 1 second. And the reason that I'm stopping the screen share is that I just want to see your faces as I explain to you the General Johnny Wilson journey. As the new principal in this building, my goal is initially to create or help establish a culture here where everybody feels like when they walk into this building, they are the most important person in the room, that they're at home, from every parent, every stakeholder, every student. So sometimes I have to really, really embarrass myself to drive this point home. And if you've seen any of our videos on the Nicole Davis YouTube channel or our Facebook, you'll know that I'll do anything to increase student and parent engagement in our activities. That is the most important thing to me, because if we don't have our students involved and engaged, our parents or our community, then we don't have a program. So from the teaching and learning perspective, I could go really, really in depth with you about the use of iReady to gauge our students' academic performance and how we weren't really happy with the results. So we really, really pushed my path every week with all of our students in asynchronous learning with the support of our Title I teachers. Or I could talk to you about how we have the asynchronous intervention groups every day for our students. I could talk to you about how we developed a curriculum instruction group here at our building to ensure that we have a voice in what we're doing when we're instructing our students. We also have students on that committee because if lessons are not great, we want them to give us their voice. It matters. We believe in choice. We believe in high interest lessons. We believe in making sure that every culture is recognized and valued here in our building. Some things we've done to make sure that we don't have the lack of engagement that we're all dealing with. We've created a co-teaching situation where most of our teachers have partners in the classroom to help them gauge the learning of our students and to offer additional support. Again, like Mary said, we hired a Spanish teacher and we recognized that some of our teachers could not communicate with some of our students who are new to the building. We developed a basic Spanish 101 class for our staff because they need to be able to greet our students when they come in the building because everybody has to feel like they belong. We know that the scores are low. We do know that. But in our shared leadership time with our building leadership team, we decided that that doesn't characterize us. 21% doesn't characterize us in reading or in math. What characterizes us is our time to create a group of people who really are engaged in the learning, and that'll be more reflective in the test scores moving forward. We've also done a lot of incentives from the teaching and learning perspective. Like I said, we will do what we need to do to engage our students, staff, and our community in our program. The iReady Rumble was a great opportunity for us to have some friendly competition with the iReady system that was purchased for us this year as a recommendation from our ELA teachers with the support of Ms. Taylor. So we want to ensure that we're getting the usage that we need, so we create incentives. We've given out a TV, a 32-inch, we give out 36-inch TV to our student who reached their MyPath goal and superseded it. We've given out GameStop gift certificates. This was after the stock market fell. We also give out McDonald's tickets to those who actually tried and showed their face on the camera because we know that was a struggle for us. It was the most enlightening thing when the person who was chosen to win that TV was one of my special education students who struggled first semester, but they came back in January and knocked it out the box. That was something very enlightening for us. As we begin to develop a culture where learning comes first, where we know that everybody can learn and will learn as a result of what we're doing, slow but sure, because steady wins the race. We know we're coming out of a pandemic. It's important that we continue doing the things that we do. Family literacy nights with the public library, connecting our families to local resources because we know we're only here 180 days a year. Ensuring that students have access and understand that there are colleges and careers that are available to them. And we did that by developing community videos of folks in the community and having them share with our students about their jobs and their careers. And we're building here. But the first thing, the base level thing that I want everybody to know upon coming to General Johnny Wilson, if you come here, you'll never want to leave. Why? Because we believe in learning. Why? Because we believe that everyone who comes through this door is important, no matter what their race, creed, or language is. And two, we'll do anything in our power to make it happen. We go to homes, we take people home. We do what we need to do. So moving forward from the student support piece, yes, we do know attendance was a challenge. I got to the point where I was pulling my braids out because every day I was making robocalls to parents who were not here. And then they would never answer the calls, and I would have to be here to 7 o'clock answering them because they call back to the school. We know that's an issue, but it's our job collectively to bring them back by letting them know about the great programs that we have here and how we believe that everybody can learn and that everybody will learn. But while establishing a culture where everybody feels like they belong and they have a voice. And that'll be General Johnny Wilson. And so I'm gonna screen share something really quick because I know I got 2 minutes. I didn't tell you everything because then we'd be having dinner, but I do want to show you one of our fun videos. Hold on 1 second, outside. Because I think you'll love them. I'm going to screen share now. It should be coming up.
Good morning, General Johnny Wilson. It is Miss Davis, your principal, on location on this cold hump day. Welcome back. We missed you yesterday, but it was so great seeing all of you with your pets. We are so glad that you're participating in Kindness Week. I hope you got your PJs on, because I have mine on, as we continue to proceed through this very, very cold week. I want you all to stay warm, be blessed. Remember, it is hump day.
I'm going to stop the share. And if any of you know me, you know that that is Miss Davis in rare and live form. I feel like it's important to engage our students. And I'm learning after coming from high school for so many years that our middle schoolers are a little bit different. So I have to change my hat to ensure that first I engage them. And then I promise you, after the next few years, you guys, when my babies come up there, when our babies come up to that high school, you're gonna say they love learning, they love writing, they're fun, and they recognize that you don't have to be boring to be a learner. Thank you. I hope that suffices. Now you can ask any questions that you might have of us.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. This is Dr. Sampson. Quick question for you. Transition of 8th grade students to the high school level. How's that going to be tracked to make sure that we don't lose any kids as they transition to the high school? Is there a process in place for that?
Yes,
so we'll keep it 100%.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question because we've been thinking about it. Like I said at the start, we knew that there was something lost last year without the bridging ceremony and the normal orientation that we're accustomed to. So we've already been in contact with Mr. Becerra, and we've also been in contact with a few other folks about creating videos. We know we're still in a pandemic, so let's go back to our 5th graders. Our PBIS team is creating introductory videos along with our 8th graders to introduce the incoming 6th graders to our building. And we're hoping in turn that the high school will open that opportunity. We've also decided that we are going to try to get some tours going on because we know they lowered some of the sanctions. And in addition, we do have a summer program that we hope that many of our students will engage in so that they can get accustomed to the classes, the courses, the college and career tech programs and clubs that the high school has for us.
All right, thank you. Anybody else from the ADC have questions? All right.
I just want to say one more thing. Mr. Shaw and Miss Adamo are being very, very shy and very humble today. There was not a virtual PBIS system created. Mr. Shaw and his team worked together to make sure that those students were able to access their incentives through a Google Doc, order them like they were online, and pick them up and deliver them. So that is an amazing task to be completed by a new administrator. And Miss Adamo has called all of my IEPs and my 504s up. So we are popping over here, leading the way in equity, teaching and learning, and definitely building a culture here in Lorain City Schools. Right, Ms. Nazario? Thank you, guys. I appreciate your time.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. This is definitely a tough time for us to all lead in. But the biggest thing right now that I'm going to continue to stress for today's meeting is looking to see how we are getting our kids to fall back in love with learning. We're competing against TikTok. We're competing against Instagram Live. We're competing against all these other tools that the kids are engaged in for 365 days. So our goal is to figure out how can we get our kids to fall back in love with teaching and learning, and that's the adults in the building. All right.
That's
okay,
awesome.
and so we're going to transition on to the next school, please.
All right, Aretha.
Remember, we have 20 minutes. 20 minutes.
Aretha, we going with Southview next, correct?
Yeah, well, Southview was supposed to go next, yeah. Southview?
And there's some feedback. If people who are not speaking could put their themselves on mute, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was muted. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
All right, awesome. All right, greetings. I'm Paul Williams. I'm the principal here at Southview Middle School. This is my first year. This is my 18th year in education, and most of those years have been in Lorain City Schools. My assistant principal is Miss Melissa Morgan. This is her third year here at Southview Middle School. Her third year as the assistant principal, and she served 3 years as an AP on the east side of Cleveland. And now she's made her journey to be on the Southview and Lorain City School team. And again, we're just excited to be here, excited to serve our families, to serve our students here on the south side of Lorain. I know that before we started this journey here, this school year, during this pandemic, we got a chance to talk to some young people, and we asked them for some advice. It's important when you start any endeavor, especially leading an educational organization, that you get input from all stakeholders, your staff, your teachers, community members, and most importantly, your students, that student voice piece. And so we talked to some of those students and said, I asked them, what type of advice, can you give me, as being a principal here at the middle school? And their advice was to keep things as normal as possible, to keep school as normal as possible. There's already a lot of things going on, a lot of distractions, a lot of challenges, tests, tribulations going on in the midst of this pandemic. Just try to keep school as normal as possible. So that advice has carried us through this journey that we're about to share. All right, what's the clear purpose of the school? Keeping in mind, keeping school as normal as possible. Southview Middle School will provide a top caliber education for students grades 6 through 8 by cultivating a healthy school culture for student engagement, implementing structures and practices to ensure student equity, organizing teaching, measuring learning, and supporting students to assure academic success, to prepare lifelong learners for the transition to high school and beyond. And we kind of streamlined our purpose, aligning it with the strategic plan. And we know that the questions that we were asked to answer today align straight from our strategic plan, letting that be our light, letting that be our guide. We're going to let Ms. Morgan expound upon our healthy culture, but just to elaborate a little bit about the picture, again, keeping in mind, keeping school as normal as possible. Our guidance counselor, Mr. Justin Lorco, and also our safety officers who were pictured in the previous screen, they conducted home visits and delivered those signs to those students that got Student of the Month. So they were recommended by their teachers for their academic achievements and also for adhering to PBIS norms and adhering to those superlatives. And they've done a stellar job. Just continuing to keep school as we know it, as best as we can, steady in the midst of the pandemic. All right, so Ms. Morgan, if you want to go ahead and elaborate on healthy culture.
At Southview, we have several services and activities to promote healthy culture and student engagement. For some of those, on the first slide, we have some figures from our quarterly awards, and the quarterly awards are held 4 times a year. This year they've been online, and looking at these awards, right now we have about 70% overall attendance. And breaking it down, that means 319 out of our 456 kids are actively engaged in learning. So 25% of those kids have been recognized with an award. So like I said, quarterly awards, honor roll, merit roll, principal honor roll. This year we've also added keyboard and technology awards, just because of the focus on the technology with the pandemic and the importance of that. And then also awards and the focus on the students being kind. One before. Okay, I'm going to review and go over some of the programs and activities that we are offering. Starting as of April 13th, we had 12 or 16 referrals returned from mental health services. This doesn't include our number from the beginning of the year. We had 10 kids as a carryover from the previous year that are on the Beachbrook caseload with our in-school counselor, Jen Witten. Our school social worker, Amy DiTullio, she works mainly at the high school. She has 550 students face-to-face contact, so she helps us when she can, and we've given her an additional 35 referrals. I do want to give a shout out to our safety team, done an amazing job this year, extending the job duties. I know beginning of the year, we weren't really sure, what they were going to do, especially when we were all remote. And we went on a lot of home visits, delivering hotspots, making phone calls, and they've just jumped in wherever needed. So definitely we appreciate them so much. Also, our guidance counselor, Mr. Largo, has been a tremendous support for the students. And then Ms. Kissel, our interim assistant principal, and myself have been working with the students one-on-one to provide a safe space for them. We also have Men of Courage with Mr. Anthony Jones, and he comes in and meets with groups of 8th grade students. This year, it's been not as strong because of the kids not being in the building. I have talked with him. We're going to have another follow-up meeting so that we can come back strong in August and that the kids are getting the mentoring that they need. Clubs at Southview: art, bowling, academic challenge, chess, steel drum band, robotics, movie club, book club, and student council. We also have a group called the You Belong Selfless Saints that the students can apply for through the Mental Health Addiction and Recovery Service Board of Lorain. And the purpose of this group is to build stronger relationships between students and teachers, and to also help students feel more dedicated to school and want to be in school. Again, this year, the activities have been a little bit limited, but they have in the previous year put Valentines in everyone's lockers. We did a bubble soccer tournament. We've had therapy dogs come in during testing week. They did Chalk the Walk, where they decorate all of the sidewalks with chalk. Good luck on testing. Ice cream social, staff versus student volleyball. We have virtual talent show this year. First place winner got a $100 gift card. That was really exciting. The kids were really into that. Everything has been going fairly well with what we have. I think the biggest challenge, though, with student engagement is engaging our kids that are remote. It's hard. Most of the kiddos don't want to have their cameras on, and it's just been a spirit week for testing, and it's hard to get them involved when you can't see them. So that's definitely something that we're working on. We're going to try and come up with more ideas to get those kiddos engaged.
I also want to add, along with the clubs, in order to attempt to engage the whole child behaviorally, mentally, socially, emotionally, along with getting them to critically think as far as their academics. We got accolades from our parents and from the community for our Hispanic heritage virtual celebration. We were able to partner and access resources with El Centro and the Lorain Historical Society. And we were able to secure a speaker from Bowling Green State University of the Hispanic sorority, Sigma Lambda Gamma. And she was able just to share some of her experiences. And it was important for us to show our students somebody that was similar to them in demographics, was able to go on and be successful. seeing that we have a large Hispanic population of our student body. It hovers around 53%. We had the national anthem sung in Spanish. And, so a lot of our military families were very touched by this. And also we were able to have a celebration for African-American Heritage Month as well. And we were able to secure one of our substitute teachers, Demetrius Lovett, who was a Lorain County alum. He ended up graduating from Elyria High School, but still he was very familiar with Lorain. They have similar demographics, and he shared his story about going on to Cleveland State and playing basketball there. And so just continuing again to put positive role models in front of our students to let them know that they can succeed and they can achieve if they put their mind to it. And one final note that's not on here, we also was able to partner with Mr. Gerhardinger, and he was able to secure some software and download it and work with our technology department. And you can see it on TV 20, our band was able to give us a virtual concert. And so it took a lot of work, a lot of editing, but he was able to edit their individual performances and streamline those together in concert. And I tell you, the band really played. And so looking forward to one day when, the band can get together again, myself being a musician. Ms. Morgan? Okay.
Oh, I think she covered that. We can go ahead and move to equity.
Okay.
Okay.
Pardon me?
No, we're going to move on to equity because I think we're cutting short on time.
Oh, I apologize.
Yeah, they want to speed it along. All right, so dealing with equity, we definitely have structures and practices in place to promote equity. Just to highlight, we have the use of talking points. Talking points is a communication device that you can download on your phone or on the computer. It's similar to like a classroom dojo, but the difference is with this program, the parent doesn't necessarily have to download the app to their phone or put in a code. It's basically like a text messaging app. And so if there's a family where the parent only speaks Spanish, then on the school end, we can designate that family as Spanish speaking only. And when we text in English, it will automatically translate into Spanish. And so that's been one way that we've been able to eliminate communication barriers. And about 43% of our staff, because this Talking Points app, the program that we purchased enables us to run analytics and reports. And so about 43% of our staff is using it. So we've had about 16,000 messages sent from teachers, staff, and families going back and forth. So we're just excited about this tool. It's just spreading like wildfire, and we're looking forward to building on this momentum, for next school year. Something else we have in place is our RTI team working in conjunction with our PBIS program, providing that multi-tiered system of support, dealing with the child, academically, behaviorally, socially, and emotionally. We meet to discuss what adult behaviors must occur in order to remove barriers to learning. A challenge that we foresee, though, is implementing committee roles. That was a challenge, especially since, we had a lot of different scenarios and situations where we had, in our phase one, a lot of staff were working from home, due to different situations. And so, our goal for next year is with Fidelity to have that timekeeper, that recorder, someone designated to invite parents, someone designated to make sure that the application to the committee is filled out, have that teacher liaison. And then that way, if everyone is pulling their weight and pulling their load equally, we can get more done and you can be more efficient when you have experts working in specific roles. All right, a success that we have for teaching and learning is instructional technology is a progressive best practice strategy moving forward. It assists with differentiation and ensures equity for all students, specifically the Nearpod. The Nearpod instructional tool is awesome. You know, it's like a PowerPoint on steroids. You know, students are able to interact, whether they're working remotely and or if they're working in the classroom. Teachers are able to provide formative assessment, do polls. They can go write and take over that student's computer and, you know, give them immediate feedback, and they can see who's participating and who's not. And so, you know, a lot of our teachers were very leery of the technology in the beginning of the school year and had anxieties and worries, but now they've become masters, you know, at the trade, those that you know, they've turned that weakness into a strength. So here we've had a couple artifacts of and I know time's running short, so that we could try to pull those up and forward those to you at a later time. But we had an example of our conversion chart for our schedule. We had a version that would convert, you know, what it meant in Power School versus the actual hybrid schedule that we were implementing here at the middle school, a copy of our build schedule, and also our iReady report.
Mr. Williams, can you go ahead and we'll allow for the time. I think it's important, but can we click on that iReady math just so that people can see exactly what you're talking about, if it's available?
Sir. Yes, sir. All right, so here's an example of one of our iReady reports. It has the pyramid, you know, representing the multi-tiered system of support, specifically the RTI. And so you have your tier one, which is your general instructional practices that the whole school or the whole, you know, math department are using. And then you have that middle tier, you know, whereas you're providing you know, support for groups of students. And then you have that third tier where you're giving specific individualized, differentiated strategies for students. So I know the results of this diagnostic here, we had 39% at tier one. I know, I'm not sure how well you can see this. And then 16% at tier two. And then we have 44% in tier three. So we know, you know, we definitely have some work to do because we know that, you know, with a normal pyramid, you know, that top tier would be around 5 to 10%. We know that bottom, you know, pyramid would be 80 to 90%. So we definitely have some, you know, work to do, but we're willing, you know, to roll our sleeves up and continue to utilize, you know, asynchronous time, utilize our title supports, utilize our inclusion teachers, utilize our grouping, utilizing the interventions that the iReady recommend, you know, based on how they score on the diagnostic and grouping those students. Did that answer your question, Dr. Sampson?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right,
Any other
thank you.
questions from the board?
Do we have time for student supports, or should we just?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, Ms. Morgan, would you like to go ahead and dive into attendance?
Absolutely. Obviously, attendance has been one of our biggest challenges this year. We've provided a lot of interventions to try and get the kids in school and to try and get them online. I do hold weekly attendance meetings with Officer Mose, and you'll see some attendance reports that we run every week. We send out 38-hour letters to parents for students that are missing 38 hours or more. AIT letters for students that have chronic absences. And those letters go home for the parents to call us back, and we have a phone meeting with the parents to make an attendance intervention plan for the students. We've hit home visits hard this year. Again, our security officers have been critical in this, also helping with parent calls. We do send out positive postcards for attendance. This month I sent 100. And we have our attendance wall to promote all of our perfect attendance students. We have recognition on Facebook. And then also for our 100% attendance students, El Centro, LCC, and Lorain Skate World have provided gift cards for those students. Okay, this is one of my weekly attendance spreadsheets. I just chose a small sample out of the 400 plus kids we have. So I labeled it student A, B, C, D. So under notice sent, that means that they received an AIT letter that week, what the date was, and it tells their missing hours. So that's their total missing hours for this year. And then I go through and do daily attendance to look for improvements on attendance. So you can see that was the week of 322. So there's a sample of 5 of our kids. And then this report I run every Friday, and it tells the total hours per month that the students have missed, total per year, how many unexcused absences they've had in a row, unexcused per month, and then unexcused per year. So again, our letters and phone calls are also based on this information provided in this weekly report. Are there any questions about the reports? I know I'm going kind of fast. Some of the numbers I know are shocking. Okay. And then I think one of our slides is missing, just the high school transition. Okay. The middle schoolers completed their schedules. Those were due April 9th. They had the option of filling out a Google form or a hard copy. Our counselor, Mr. Lorco, made 8th grade classroom visits. He had 6 kids sign up for JROTC. We have 12 students applying for early college. He reviewed the PE health requirement with the students, because I know that's sometimes a misunderstanding in middle school. You know, you don't need to earn credits. So the importance of the credits, eligibility, sports, clubs and activities, and then vocational. And he is working on trying to schedule small visits to the high school, or to be provided with a virtual tour of the high school. And then our PBIS team is going to make a virtual video for our 5th grade students coming up.
And one final note, I just want to also add that we've kind of partnered with Coach McFarland. All of the middle schools have, really, but we partnered with Coach McFarland and Coach Creel to kind of start bridging that gap between our students and the high school as well. Coach McFarland has started a Google Classroom where he's been able to post announcements and touch base with some of our young men. And so, we're really excited about that, to, bridge the gap and start to give our middle schoolers a glimpse of what's to come. And then, just to hear, some of the things that even Dr. Graham has expounded upon, which is very excited what's to come for Lorain. So Are there any questions for us?
As of April 9th, with your enrollment to the high school, how many or what percent of your 8th graders still need to enroll? Because I see that you have some attendance disparities as well. So when the kids aren't there to do the enrollment, so how many kiddos do you still have left in 8th grade that needs to get enrolled at the high school, and what's being done if they're not?
Dr. Sampson, hi. Mr. Lorco, our counselor, is in charge of all that, so I would be happy to get in touch with him and provide you with that information.
Okay, that sounds great. Just send it to the entire ADC and the board as well.
Okay.
And to Dr.
I'll send
Graham.
that to you in the morning.
Yep, send it to Dr. Graham, and they'll disperse it.
Okay, thank you.
Because we want to get as many of our kiddos that's supposed to transfer to the high school there. So we just need to get a number as to where everybody is.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else from the ADC questions, comments?
I've got one question. Do you have any kids that are actually unaccounted for?
We do not have any kids that aren't accounted for, but we do have about 4 or 5 kids that their attendance is very sparse.
Oh, yeah.
We have located our students.
I don't think you're any different than any other our schools, because I've seen the attendance records, that and most people are, I really believe they're honest because they don't look that well. Okay, but I mean, I just want to know, as long as we know where they are and what's up with them. Thank you.
Yep, that was definitely a priority.
And along those lines, I think that in talking with our staff, there were, as we listed, we have about 456 students, and there were only about 6 laptops that were not distributed. So I think that, our staff did an astronomical job, as far as laptop distribution in the beginning of the school year, and then ongoing, as we get new students.
And definitely we couldn't do this without our staff. I just want to give a shout out to all the Southview middle school teachers and all the teachers in the district, because this has been something brand new for everyone, and everyone's really doing an awesome job.
Excellent. Thanks, Nothing. Aretha?
I'm sorry.
We'll transition to the next school.
Transition?
Yes. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Longfellow.
All right, good evening, everyone. Like Paul and Nicole and the other team shared, it's a pleasure to be here to be able to share with you just our school as we've been navigating the pandemic and some of the challenges that we've faced and all that we're doing about it to try to continue to move forward. I'm Andrew Hoffman. I am the principal at Longfellow. It is my 3rd year at Longfellow, 2nd as the principal. Got my teaching career started in Lorain some 12 years ago. So although it's been a journey to get back to Lorain, I feel myself lucky and blessed to be at Longfellow. Margot Bell is our assistant principal. This is her 2nd year at Longfellow, both as the assistant principal, was a teacher for several years in the district at Southview. The best of what Longfellow lies within its people. And really quick, before we dive into the healthy culture, just a quick 30,000-foot view of our presentation, structured with a bit of a vision statement for each part of the strategic plan, openly acknowledging that this is where we want to be, but we're not there yet, and we're trying to put things in place to get us there. So when it comes to healthy culture, I think first and foremost, it applies to both adults and students. And it's important to think that way as you move forward with a healthy school culture. We believe that strong adult culture is paramount to improving the outcomes for our students. We believe first and foremost, meaningful relationships, adult to adult, adult to students, and student to student is the cornerstone for healthy culture and a school where students and staff want to be. As it's been documented pretty well here over the last hour or so, our challenges are not all that different. Student engagement, it became quite clear quite quickly that getting kids to feel connected to our school in a time of isolation and lack of structure was really, really going to be difficult. So if we could think of it, we tried it as far as trying to get kids engaged in learning opportunities, social emotional supports, and all that type of stuff. Maintaining staff morale, although, you know, I would say Longfellow's adult culture is strong with the way that they feel and support each other and students. In a year that required a lot of flexibility, personal learning in areas that can be uncomfortable with technology and just navigating the unknown, that was something that we continue to put importance in, and that doesn't stop as we move forward. And then also growing our school-based teams. A lot of times, you know, our planning was around the pandemic and how we navigate this issue or that issue. And we just look forward to be able to grow our, you know, teams of shared decision-making and leadership as we continue to improve and go along. You know, to start with the adults, I think just a few things we want to highlight is just, you know, really spend a lot of time, you know, this past year and even the 2 years before, just developing trust through open and consistent lines of in collaboration. I think one highlight of that is establishing the BLT and PBIS RTI teams as a way to get teacher voice and student voice into the happenings of the school. We used a lot of staff surveys to just check in to see what people needed, to try to identify trends of what we could do to help move staff along, to help you know, navigate this really unprecedented year. And we also did the same with students, particularly when it came to rewarding them and celebrating their achievements. You know, this goes for the district as well as our school, just this extensive support in instructional technology. As I mentioned before, you know, having a really healthy school culture starts with adults. And I think we spent some time supporting them in what was new, and also having some intentional morale building as well. And then the other half of that, Mrs. Bell is gonna give a little insight on how we hit the student engagement problem head on, where we thought we found some value and where we're still finding challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Hoffman. Hey, everyone. I'm Margot Bell, the assistant principal at Longfellow. Thanks for being with us here tonight. So just to speak briefly on how we improved our student culture, if you know kids, you know you can't teach them anything until you build a relationship with them, and just connecting with students through a screen was increasingly challenging. And so we got really creative, and I think that's a silver lining of it, where we tried things that we may have never tried before to reach our students and build those connections. And a lot of these things we're going to carry forward and into next year and to years to come. So we got really creative with ways to allow our students to connect with the adults in our building through our PBIS program and that online store that a couple of our schools have talked about, our weekly Titan Champion video where our teachers spotlight kids every week and we do a little video and post it online. The kids can earn raffle tickets for that. We do Student of the Month, and we do lots of extracurriculars, just a way for the students at home to feel connected to Longfellow. One of our biggest challenges, and also something that I think we will carry on into next year with all the creative things we've tried.
As far as structures and supports we have for equity, again, our vision is to just identify and actively eliminate as many barriers as we can to access an opportunity for our students. And I think just straight out of the gate, you know, the district did a phenomenal job of providing technology supports for students, whether it be one-to-one laptops or hotspots to get internet access. But really on the ground level, we needed to be able to build the capacity of our families to using the tech. We met a lot of equity issues with, okay, I have the tech, but now I need to know how to use it. And so we spent a considerable amount of time, especially in the fall, you know, helping families and students understand how to access Google Classroom, how to access our single sign-on clever, just so that students could get access to the learning. How to access a Zoom, even as granular as like downloading Zoom onto their computers or making sure it was able to run smoothly. All these types of things were barriers for us to be able to make sure that kids could access this stuff. As we get down to student supports, we'll talk about attendance, no different at Longfellow than at GJW in Southview, where that was just a tremendous challenge for us to get kids to be in school consistently. Some of the highlights for us that will continue to be works in progress as we move forward to continue to provide equal access to all students is teachers created like tangible versions of what they were providing on Google Classroom for those students that really just needed something in front of them. Particularly our science department, they were really great about creating these interactive notebooks that we actually had a couple different pickup times, but then also just constant deliveries with our safety officers, being flexible in their roles and being willing to say, hey, I'll go to this kid's house and I'll take them the science interactive notebook because I know this kid learns better when it's in front of them rather than trying to navigate some of the tech. Both as Paul and Nicole highlighted, close some of those gaps, as well as high quality curriculum in the reading and math as well. And just, the other thing I want to highlight really quick as far as equity is just teachers really thinking deeply about how they're responding to the barriers as far as what am I giving kids to demonstrate learning? What kind of grace am I providing kids with the timelines? We know that there was the spectrum of situations and circumstances and barriers were great. And I really have to give our staff a tremendous shout out for being able to navigate that with opportunities to resubmit and grace with the timelines. Some things as we're moving forward, work to be done in the MTSS multi-tiered system of support in all phases, but particularly academically. And then also, our family engagement is always a work in progress. I always think we can do better. And the pandemic made that more difficult with things having to be virtual. But it's something that we are looking forward to moving forward, just engaging families more often in a more typical sense. I've touched on a few of the teaching and learning pieces, in terms of equity, and it's really all wrapped up into kind of one thing when you think about teaching and learning. Again, our vision statement for everything that we value as quality teaching and learning. Some of these things we're well down the road in doing, and other things need a lot of work. And so this is where we want to be, and we're actively working towards that. Margot, yeah, go ahead. Again, you can go back one. Margot, that's perfect. Yeah. So just some of the challenges. Again, I don't want to reiterate all the things that Paul and Nicole talked about because they were our challenge as well. As far as, hey, we've had kids miss a lot of school starting from last year. The pacing is a little bit off with kids being synchronously 3 days a week and now 4 days a week. How are we addressing these skill gaps? But I do think. One of the challenges for us, that I think really encompasses the way that our staff and teachers feel about meeting the needs of students is that we recognized really early on that getting kids to submit work was a challenge. There was a lot of new learning and what tech pieces we could put together for kids to physically submit assignments. For a while, it was like, hey, snap a picture of your interactive notebook and submit it. One of the pillars of quality teaching and learning is being able to give kids real-time feedback, as they're working so that they can adjust what they're doing. And so we had a program called Formative that some of our teachers were using a free version of, and they brought it to me. And basically, it allowed for teachers to see students working in real time. So you could upload a PDF or you could create a document in Formative. And as kids were working, you could actually see them typing and thinking, and teachers were able to give those students